What happens when a local city council meeting suddenly becomes the center of a national fight over religion, immigration, free speech, and what it means to be American? That question exploded in Dearborn, Michigan, this week, after a pastor stood before the city council and accused the city of operating under Sharia law. But the confrontation didn't end with a fiery speech. Outside the meeting, police made 22 arrests, and the dispute exposed a much deeper divide over one of America's most closely watched communities. The pastor at the center of the controversy was Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church. Speaking at Tuesday's meeting, Sewell argued that Dearborn had moved away from American law and toward what he described as Sharia law. He connected that claim to what he sees as unequal treatment of Muslims, particularly the city's handling of a violent confrontation involving activist Jake Lang earlier this month. But there's an important distinction here. There is no evidence that Dearborn has actually replaced American law with Sharia law, and the controversy is really about competing accusations of favoritism, religious influence, and public safety. And that's where the story gets much bigger than one speech. Lang had been protesting during Dearborn's annual Arbaeen March, a religious commemoration, when an altercation broke out. Video circulated online showing Lang being struck and chased, while Dearborn police later confirmed that at least one person was arrested and that investigators were looking for others who may have committed unlawful acts. Police also said officers intervened to de-escalate the confrontation, directly challenging claims that authorities simply stood by. That disagreement became the fuel for a much larger protest campaign. Lang and Sewell promoted what they called a Christian Crusader March on Dearborn, with messaging focused on stopping what organizers described as the Islamification of America. City officials knew the gathering could become volatile, so the regular city council meeting was moved from its normal location to the Henry Ford Centennial Library, while police prepared an enhanced security operation. Then Tuesday arrived, and the situation became far more serious. Several hundred demonstrators gathered around the library, with protesters and counter-protesters representing different groups and viewpoints. Dearborn police were joined by the Michigan State Police, Wayne County Sheriff's Office, Detroit Police and other law enforcement units. By the end of the demonstration, 22 people had been arrested on misdemeanor charges including disorderly conduct and breach of peace. Here's the part that's easy to miss. Despite the arrests and the tense atmosphere outside, the city council meeting itself went forward and finished without incident. Police reported no injuries among demonstrators, residents, or officers. In other words, the night that had been expected to potentially spiral into chaos ultimately saw the government's meeting continue while police dealt with unlawful conduct outside. Inside the meeting, Mayor Abdullah Hammoud pushed back forcefully against the idea that Dearborn has been overtaken by Muslims. Hammoud argued that portraying the city that way doesn't just attack its Muslim and Arab residents, but also Christians and people of other faiths who have helped build the community. His broader argument was that Americans shouldn't have to choose between their religious identities and belonging to the country. And Dearborn is an especially powerful place for this argument because of its demographics. Census data shows that in 2020, about 54.5% of Dearborn residents reported Middle Eastern or North African ancestry, making the city an unusually prominent center of Arab American life in the United States. That demographic reality has made Dearborn a national symbol in debates over immigration, Islam, American identity, and political power. But there is another side that deserves attention. Critics of the city say religious and cultural influence shouldn't shield anyone from the law, and they point to the assault involving Lang as evidence that authorities need to apply the same standards to everyone. City officials and police, meanwhile, say they are doing exactly that, pointing to the arrest during the Arbaeen incident and the 22 arrests during Tuesday's demonstration. Those competing claims are at the heart of this dispute, and the available evidence does not support simply declaring that one side has proven everything it is saying. So what happens next? That's the real question. Dearborn isn't just dealing with a protest, it's dealing with a national argument that has now landed directly in its streets and city government. And if future demonstrations continue, the challenge for officials will be balancing First Amendment rights with public safety while making sure the law is enforced consistently, regardless of someone's religion, politics, or ideology. For everyone watching this from outside Dearborn, there's a larger lesson here. A city can have a strong religious or cultural identity without automatically replacing the laws of the country it belongs to. And Americans can fiercely disagree about religion, politics, and identity without allowing those disagreements to turn into violence. What happened in Dearborn this week shows just how difficult that balance has become. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Prime Wire, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest news. Thanks for watching.